Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we will discuss engagement quality for non-issuer. Here we're looking at the quality at the engagement level and the fieldwork rather than the firm-wide level. So here we're looking at the role of the engagement partner himself or herself, not the firm as a whole, because the firm as a whole will have a system of quality management, which we talked about in prior session. So what is a non-issuer? Non-issuer is any entity that's not publicly traded. It does not respond to the SEC. What could be some examples? Private companies, not publicly traded companies, governmental entities, not for-profit organization, family-owned businesses. Now, family-owned businesses, private companies, they could be quite large, but they're still not subject to the SEC requirements. They don't respond to the SEC. And these audits follow the US GAAP, not the PCAOB standard, because the PCAOB standard are for issuers, publicly traded companies. So quality is important. It's not only just paperwork or checklist. It protects the auditor against bank lending errors, fraud exposure, lawsuit, and regulatory penalties if applicable. Because if quality fails, the audit opinion becomes meaningless. People that rely on it can sue you because you did not do a good job auditing the firm. So in this session, we'll focus on the engagement quality, the people in the field. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com. Most students and CPA candidates struggle not because audit is too hard, but because it's taught fast and the logic behind the procedure isn't explained clearly. Then everything feels disconnected. At Farhat Lectures, we break audit down step by step. We explain the why behind the standards, the logic behind the assertions, risks, procedures, evidence, so the whole process finally clicks. When the concepts connect, audit becomes clear and manageable. You stop memorizing and start understanding. Ready for auditing to make sense? Start your free trial at farhatlectures.com. So let's just review one more time. We're talking here about the engagement level, not the firm. The firm will have a system quality management, SQM, that establish policy for the whole firm, sets as ethical standard, design training system, implement monitoring, and we talked about SQM in a separate recording. The engagement level is the specific team working on a specific engagement. Specifically, the engagement partner. The engagement partner will apply the policies that the firm established, manage risks in real time. They deal with the day-to-day actual work. Actual quality lives at the engagement level, because once you want to see if whether your policies are working or not, this is where they are applied, they are used, they are tested, and this is where the main character enters the story. Are we doing the actual work? Because they make the final judgment. They sign the audit report. So policies on paper by themselves don't ensure quality. So when we have the policies as a firm as a whole, that's great. When we do the application, when we are working on the engagement level, this is when we test our quality. So application does when the client breathing down your neck. So application is where the real quality is. Do you have real quality? You apply properly. Now, who's the ultimate responsible person for the quality engagement? You guessed it, the engagement partner, the person responsible for that engagement, the captain of the ship. Now, keep in mind, the captain of the ship, they cannot do everything. And if they do, the audit will cost a fortune. So what they do, they can delegate tasks, but they cannot delegate responsibility. Even if the staff perform the procedures, the managers review the work, specialists are involved, the engagement partner remains fully accountable. So that's the responsibility. It's just not technical. It's part of the culture of the company. The engagement partner is the person responsible. They cannot say, my staff made the mistake. When the report is signed, the buck stops there. And as I said, this is a cultural leadership and cultural skepticism. The partner must create a culture that promote professional skepticism, encourage questioning, encourage people to question what they see in case there's something does not make any sense. It should not be a culture of fear. Promote ethical behavior, open communication, accountability. For example, if a senior auditor questions a $10 million asset valuation, the partner should take the concern seriously and investigate further.
Because if those individuals are they are afraid to raise any concern, then they're not going to say anything. The leadership here is protecting the right of the staff to question, to ask questions, because if people stop asking tough questions, fraud would walk right into the company, into the audit. So that's why we want to encourage this. And so in that circumstances, maybe we will want to get an external appraisal. If the senior auditor thinks 10 million is not is a problem, then we can talk to someone else. We should not suppress skepticism, because that's equal to quality failure. Not necessarily right now, but in the long run, because people will stop asking questions. Now, independence, we cannot emphasize ethics and independence enough. This is not optional. And independence will have to be confirmed before the audit starts. So if a staff member owns a stock in the client, guess what? They must be removed immediately, or they must sell their position. We have to do this before any work is done. Reperform procedure if necessary, if that was the case, if that's acceptable. Confirm independence before issuing report. So we want to make sure independence is maintained before we issue the report. Once the report is signed, you cannot fix independence retroactively. So we have to take care of that. So independence violation invalidate the whole report, because independence is the backbone of the audit opinion. If people don't think we are independent, then they cannot trust our judgment. So quality, that one of the main component of it is independence, and independence will have to be met before dating the report, hopefully before we even start the engagement. Also, part of the process is to accept the client and agree to continue with the client. Not every client should be accepted, and not every client we should keep on working with them. Maybe it be lucrative, but it's not the best idea. So before and during the audit, the partner must evaluate management integrity, the fraud risk, the ethical concern, the reputation risk, because the managing partner is the person that's working on the front line dealing with their client. If fraud emerges mid-audit, again, the partner would know about this because they are working on the front line. They should reassess engagement continuation. Should we keep on going? You cannot audit a client that you do not trust. Maybe you want to withdraw, because business is based on trust. And once that trust is lost, there is no reason anymore to conduct business, because it's in good faith. Business is done in good faith. You cannot suspect someone is cheating and lying. You're not their babysitter. You're not the detector. You're there to do your job. And you cannot trust them. You should not be auditing them.